You know, one thing I wanted to say to that state police guy when he pulled me over, wasn't speeding, and then commenced to want to search my car, and then wanted to check the tent. This tent looks a little dark, pulls out a thing. Oh, it's 29. I guess that's okay. I'm like, I want to search your car. You work for a government that's the most statistically dangerous group out there. I'm not bad, pal. Look at all the real crimes going on. You're harassing me. And that's what a tyranny does. It shifts on to the general public. But I wanted to bring up to him how Texas is all over Fox, CNN, you name it, in towns everywhere where the police chiefs defend it. And they literally pull over old ladies, preachers, they don't care. And they say, let me look in your purse. And people don't know their rights and say, okay, these towns are so used to it, they don't care. They'll just club you in the head. And they actually go in and go, you got $2,000 in here. And the person's like, yeah, you know, usually it's an old person because they're Depression era. They don't really use credit cards except for emergencies. They carry cash. And they just take it. No judge, no jury. And they say, well, our asset forfeiture seizure says we can take it. Oh, you've got a regulation you pulled out of you pulled out of the air. And so you say now? I saw an article I couldn't believe 10 years ago or so. It was back in 2000, 2001. And in that article, it was the Seattle Post-Intelligencer or Seattle Times. I can't remember. They got 3 papers there. But it described how in a bar district, more than half the bars in the nice bar district were now owned by cops. And how soon they would own all the bars because the police would go in the bathroom and sell each other drugs and then asset forfeiture seize and then give it to another cop in the department as part of some type of courthouse sale that nobody was told of. And the paper was like, is it illegal for them to set up people's businesses and take their property? Maybe not. The article was like, yeah, they're taking over everything. And when you're in New York and you see a pot-bellied, wild-eyed cop with a bunch of others that look like something out of Clockwork Orange, giggling and laughing like wannabe gangsters, smoking cigars and cigarettes, being rude to women as they walk by. I mean, I don't... New York, in a way, is an interesting city, a lot of beautiful stuff. The vibe isn't really bad, but the police there, not all of them, too. You've heard them call in. Some are nice. They're either really nice or they're really bad, but more and more, I've been to parades. I've been there and covered things. And you'll look at the cops, and if I was a Hollywood director and I was getting a cast together of a futuristic police force with thug-like goons, you know, America has fallen. The police state is here. The corrupt tyranny is in place. You know, imagine a movie like that. I would go and hire New York cops. I would go and hire them to be the bad guys in my movie. Because, I mean, the lowness of someone who wants to be rude to tourists, the lowness of people sitting around with their shirts half untucked, and huge pot bellies. And again, I got a little bit of a belly. The point is that it is something weird about it. Or in commando gear, weighing 400 pounds. I see that a lot, too, with just weapons all around their giant Santa Claus bellies, bugging their eyes out. They're like little kids in dress-up army. When we drove up to protest the Federal Reserve a few months ago, and I'm going to your calls, we pulled in what they call the check stop. It's like a gas station that has kolaches and stuff at like midnight driving up there. And there was this cop in there who had to weigh 500 pounds. I mean, he looked like Fat Albert, white guy with a beard. Stains on his big giant, he was a sheriff's deputy, on his big giant shirt that went out like this, and firearms and tasers. And I watched him waddling around. You know, he walked in like he was a guy in a Western, walking through the saloon doors, you know, with his hands out, ready to grab his guns, looking. And he was looking around the corner when he walked into the donut area. And he was, when we got a drink out of the thing, he was looking, and he was, and you sit there and you look at these guys in the eyes, and they look at you like, you're looking at me. You see how powerful I am. And you're just like, holy mackerel. This guy is, was either bullied or was a bully. And it's such a joke. Tyranny is so pathetic. I mean, look at Barney Frank, caught running underage prostitutes, 15, 14-year-olds, out of his condo, out of his townhouse, and he went out and gave a press conference. It's in our film, Visible Empire, and said, if you talk about me anymore, I'm just going to go public with everybody else. And they said, you know what, Mr. Frank? You like 14-year-old boys, and knock yourself out. That's on record. That's who we're ruled by. Little pudgy-handed perverts, little nobodies in little Hitler outfits, stomping around in a gas station acting tough. You know, you'll see good old boys or people that are confident with their shoulders thrown back, all walking around happy. And maybe that's how I should be. But, you know, in my life, I've always not really had my shoulders hunched over. But if I really stand up straight, it looks pretty ridiculous. You know, it looks like Mr. Barrel Chest. And, you know, looks like I'm about to go into combat or something. But I've always just kind of just tried to keep to myself, tried not to get attention. That's because I'm confident. I'm aggressive. I'm afraid of somebody starting a fight with me. Because I'm afraid of what I'll do to them. Not that I'm tough. I've been hurt just as bad as I've hurt people who started it. And that's the problem. People who are strong and good and virtuous are ashamed of our strength, and we hide, and we let little wimps run around and act tough and boss us around like we've done something wrong. And I personally am sick and tired of it. Steve in North Carolina. Steve, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex, the great Thomas Paine of our day. You have been so instrumental in so many lives in bringing these ideas to the common people and as well as the intellectuals. First-time caller.
Well, good to have you here, sir. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I wanted just to talk about, and I was surprised, you know you're a very busy man, was able to go out to the Campaign for Liberty event out there in Nevada and see Chuck Baldwin talk about the liberty, pro-liberty activities going on. And one of the things he shared was that he would rather vote for somebody that is for the Constitution that may be an atheist or agnostic than a Christian or a evangelical that is against the Constitution. And I just wanted to bring that up. And I think that's really, as a fellow believer of a Christ follower, I think that's a good point, and I wanted to make that on your show today.
Well, thank you, my friend. Anything else you'd like to point out?
The other thing I wanted to say, Alex, in reaching the millions that you do reach, I wanted to see if you had thought about adding Roku to your medium sources there. Yeah,
we get calls on people that say they're listening over Roku. But yes, we need to get ourselves listed. We never even tried till a few years ago to put the show on iTunes. We need to get on Roku. We need to go through those little steps to set that up. I've got quite an army of IT people now, so I guess need to have meetings with them and dole that out. But I mean, I get Roku calls. I see it. It says listing on Roku. What system is that?
Well, it's like the Apple TV, you know, where you have the little box.
No, I know that, but I mean, how are they? Yeah. I mean, obviously, we must be listed on it if people are calling over it.
Okay, well, I'll have to search the internet.
Maybe people are adding us to their Roku. I think they can do that, from what I've heard.
Okay, well, I'll definitely search tonight for that and sign up for Prisonplanet for sure. But the other thing, Alex, is with everything going on, in reaching the young people. I wanted to see, you were talking about video games, and, my brother and I have a concept that we're trying to work on, and where the character in this video game, it's kind of like a war game, kind of violent, but kind of trying to reach the masses, and each step the character has to go find pieces of the Constitution that's been, locked up in these maximum security places. But I wanted to see, maybe offline, to get a number where I can contact you to talk more about that with you.
Just send us an email, my friend, and I'll look into it. I appreciate your call. By the way, the Drudge Report linked to this morning, and then I think took it down in about 2 hours. And that happens sometimes when they're really busy and going through a lot of news, but it also happens if Drudge isn't sure about an article. But it's Senate moves to allow military to intern Americans without trial. Ron Paul's come out and said it does that. So is the ACLU. But people lie and say that it doesn't say that. I'll explain when we get back. Hey, everybody. Alex Jones. You know, I meant to do this yesterday, and I did to a certain extent, but I'm going to do it even more tonight on the Nightly News and then tomorrow because I ran out of time. And no, I'm not talking about exposing Newt Gingrich as a globalist with his own words. I'll do some of that as well. No, I'm talking about this article, and Ron Paul's come out, ACLU's come out, they've all come out. They've read the bill. Constitutional lawyers have come out. They've read the bill. It says the Army can operate inside the U.S. fighting terrorists or other people fighting the government, but U.S. citizens are exempt. And then you look at the other subsection, it says, except if the government wants to strip you of that extrajudicially. So it's like, you have these rights, but unless we say so. Remember, they said the Patriot Act wouldn't be used against citizens. Now it's used in every case you can imagine, thousands of times per year per state. So, yes, Ron Paul's right. The ACLU's right. Yes, it does say that. And it's worse. They don't just say they can do it. First, they say they can't, but then they can. It's always written by these scumbag lawyers. And again, it's not a big deal. It's just Drudge Report is the biggest news site out there. And a lot of times he links to our stuff for 2 or 3 hours. And when he's doing tons of news and stuff rolls off, and it looks like that's happening today. But sometimes, I've only seen it a few times, he picks up one of our flashbacks or something as if it's new and then figures it out. And, you know, I've seen it 2 or 3 times out of hundreds of articles they've linked to. This one was up, got giant attention, and then I noticed wasn't there anymore. So, and I'd asked Paul yesterday, but he was busy, I understand why, to do an update explaining that. Because he's quoting Ron Paul, ACLU, and the trolls are in there saying, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, within seconds, within minutes of this going up. I want to bring Ted Anderson up right now, shifting gears ahead of Gerald Celente and more of your phone calls. For those that are patiently holding, I will get to all of you that are at least on hold. Briefly with a gold pitch. Commodities are only going to go up. You heard Peter Schiff earlier. They may drive them down for a period, though that's not happening right now. It's up, but it's only going to go back up. And that's what's happening because of the basic laws of finance and capital and investment and commerce and commodities. When you have global devaluation, which they've signaled they're going to accelerate the acceleration, when that happens, things will only go up, whether it's land, whether it's oil, whether it's gold, copper. Things are only going to go up. Even though we're in a depression, you'd think prices would go down, but it's hyper, stag, depression. We have all of these different things happening at the same time because it's designed. We have inflation mounting with a stagnant economy on top of it, with depressionary forces. Normally you just have a depression if it's natural. This is inflation on top of it. Going to Ted Anderson. Ted, tell us, as you watch all this unfold and global government being, again, pushed as a solution to everything, you have great offers on gold and silver. Tell folks what they are, Ted.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you right now, Alex, gold is up $32.20. It's hitting a high today of $1722.70. For those of you who've been watching, we hit about $16.80 here just last week, but you would have had to be precise to be able to get it at that level. Right now, the franc that we've been talking about for such a long time, 1/5 of an ounce of gold, $373. We're still buying a full year subscription to Bob's newsletter, the Internet